Evil Dead Burn comes in at 72% on the tomato meter, 75 by the audience, and it tells the tale of, well, some family that gets stuck in their house. But after the loss of her husband, a woman seeks solace with her in-laws, as one of them may or does transform into a Deadite. She comes to discover that the vows she took in life survive even in death. Now, I am a fan of the Evil Dead franchise series, and I felt like the trailers did a fairly good job of setting up the seriousness of the situation. And it's one of the reasons why I like horror. But as we saw from the trailers, some of the grotesqueness kind of lost its shock value when you actually started to watch the movie, because you're like, well, I kind of remembered this from the trailer. It's going to lead into the next scene. It's not going to be as shocking to me. But if you're going into this like as a horror fan and you didn't see the trailers, you just know that it's an Evil Dead movie, I think it serves its purpose. Now, my other observation coming out of it was just like, it was a good horror movie, but I don't find myself lingering on it. And maybe it's because I am a horror aficionado. I know this genre quite well. And while I do love being in this kind of universe with this kind of a tone of, oh my God, crazy things are happening, there's an aspect of it where it's like, we've seen this before, and it's well shot. It's got some cool things going on in the background. I found myself kind of like enjoying it, but then just not that engaged afterwards. So it was fun while being there watching it, but afterwards, like, I don't find myself having this strong desire to go back and revisit it. And it's going to be something that we'll have to look at the tomato meter for to see why people like it so much. I think it's fine. It does have some post-credit scenes where it's kind of like, okay, I guess we're expanding the universe and making it a little bit more inclusive to the other installments. But I'm finding that it was fine. And I want to say more. I want to be able to say that this is a fantastic thing, right? But I just can't do that. The Australian, the dialogue is woeful, the acting mostly a hamfest, and the plot feels like a nuanced foisted upon French writer-director Sébastien Vaniček between bouts of dreaming of fresh ways to brutalize the human body. Yeah, the opening scene in this, you guys know how much I champion the opening scene of a movie to set the tone. This movie kind of has two opening scenes. So what I mean by that is that we've got an opening scene to establish who the villain is, or what the Deadites are in this iteration and their evilness. But then we got another opening scene that establishes the family and what this particular movie is going to be about. So I found myself kind of thinking that maybe perhaps that opening sequence was not necessary. While it was cool to look at, did we really need that opening scene with the boat or with the fisherman? No, we didn't. Because that could have been worked at a different way after establishing who the main characters are of this movie. Because you don't want to establish something that feels like maybe we could have left that part out. And I felt like that's what we sort of get at in parts of this movie, because the runtime for this installment is about an hour and 50 minutes, and it really should have been about an hour 35 at the most. So let's go back here and see what The Guardian says. The movie works better than its predecessor. It also feels more like Vaniček is fine-tuning an entirely different formula than what powers the original trilogy. It doesn't have as much comedy thrown in as, say, Evil Dead 2 or Army of Darkness, but that's Raimi and Campbell working together. trying to deliver what they established with Ash. But like, if you liked Evil Dead Rise, then I think you'll like Evil Dead Burn. And if you like the 2013 version, it's in that same kind of ilk, right? It takes out all of the campiness from it. And well, it does have some kind of aspect of it being somewhat hammy as well. It's fine. It's fine. Audience ranks it really high. Beginning vibes of Evil Dead, great, very good with acting scenes. But let's go to a well-established horror critic and movie pundit that I trust, Perry Nemiroff. Sébastien Vaniček embraces the traditional Evil Dead style and then packs his film to the brim with downright brutal and wildly creative set pieces, and every single one of them is an absolute banger. Now, if you don't know Perry, she loves horror as well as I do, and she loves talking about movies and everything. So she knows her stuff when it comes to talking about movies. And maybe I'm being harsh on it. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh on it. She gives it 4.5 out of 5. So that's like a 9 out of 10. I can't go that high. Because as I said, I enjoyed it while I watched it, but I just don't find myself wanting to go back to revisit it. And other than telling you that if you like those other movies, then you'll like this one as well. I'm not finding anything else in it that makes me say, you gotta check it out because of this one scene. There's this one scene in here where when you see it, it'll make you go, wow, wow. This movie doesn't have anything like that. It's just there. It serves what it's trying to do. It executes it fairly well. It just doesn't stay up here. So I think you get where I'm going with this. It's a fine, serviceable, run-of-the-mill movie. Looking at the score sheet here, acting, directing, and story out of a possible 2 points each. Cinematography and score, 1 point, and the watchability factor is also 2 points, 7.5 out of 10. As you can see, I'm not really saying that there's something terrible about it. There really isn't, other than a little bit of that runtime, some silliness a little bit towards the end with some of those extra scenes, the post-credit scenes. But I think this is going to be something that Evil Dead fans will appreciate, and they'll be saying, okay, I want to see what else is going to happen in this universe. It just doesn't feel like we're ever going to get back to that same feel of what Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness was. So, you're going to have to take that for what it is. 7.5 out of 10 for Evil Dead Burn. Tell me what you guys thought about it in the comments below, and we will talk about it. Hey, if you like this kind of thing, come join us here on the channel, because we also talked about The Odyssey, Christopher Nolan's epic masterpiece, as well as Spider-Man, Brand New Day, also a really good film, and The Invite, right here on Mirror Domains.